Gentlemen, thank you everybody for coming out for our first town hall on terror. We're hoping this is going to be a big success, and we're hoping to have many, many more. Before we begin, I'd like to thank the godmother of this baby, and it's Doris Montrose. Thank you very much, Doris. It was her idea, and we're going to start making this grow. And the idea is that the dangers that we're facing in our society, the threat of jihad and of stealth jihad, and the way that there's certain forces at home, including the left, that's making us vulnerable and incapable of fighting this threat. What do we do about it? And one thing is to come and listen to panelists and to listen to speakers, but the idea here is to start getting the citizens involved and to start getting people to come and for them to start giving ideas, because this is the way we're going to save our nation, is to start getting people involved. And of course, one of the main problems that we're facing is, I guess, can be crystallized in Nidal Hassan, who, when he was in the army, a medical doctor, was saying during his lectures that acid should be poured down unbelievers' throats. And because of political correctness, nobody complained. They were so frightened to complain. He went on to kill 13 American soldiers and wound, I think, about 39. And the reason why he screamed Allahu Akbar is not even mentioned, as you know, in the Obama administration's report. So what do we do about the fact that our hands are tied behind our back in facing this threat? And we want to hear from you tonight. But to kick things off, we've invited 4 warriors on the front line, 4 freedom fighters on the front line of our terror war that are going to inspire us with their ideas. They're going to speak for 5 minutes each this evening. One second. They're going to speak for 5 minutes each this evening to inspire us with their ideas of what the main threat is to our society and also what can be done about it. Then afterwards, we're going to ask you, the citizens, to voice what you think about what they have said, what you think about what should be done. You can line up there, or I'll give you the microphone. And in general, we're pretty easy here with rules, but please, no long lectures, maybe 2-3 minutes from each of you. We'll see how things go, and we will work from there. Let us begin by me introducing our great panel. We have, from your left to right, Mark Tapson, who's a Shillman Journalism Fellow at the David Horowitz Freedom Center. Nonie Darwish, author of the new book, The Devil We Don't Know. Bosch Fawstin, the creator of the superhero Pigman, the jihadist's worst nightmare. And Dwight Schultz, Hollywood actor and expert on Hollywood and media bias. There's so much more to say about all 4 of them, but let's give them a hand, ladies and gentlemen. So each panelist is going to speak for roughly 5 minutes, and then we're going to go to the floor. And the theme is the greatest threat to our society and each of their opinions today and what can be best done about it. Mark, we'll begin with you. Thank you.
I don't think the mic is on. Does this turn on, or do they use that one? The Obama administration last week declared an end to the war on terror. Problem solved. You can all go home now. Thanks, Obama. We all know that the war on terror isn't over. It's not even a war on terror. Terror is a tactic. It's not an enemy. In World War II, we didn't declare a war on blitzkrieg. But we live now in the stranglehold of political correctness and multiculturalism, and that's the problem. Jamie asked the panelists to all talk about what we consider to be the most threatening aspect of jihad. And there is a broader, more insidious danger that we face in this conflict than terrorism. And as many of you no doubt know, that threat is what the subversive Muslim Brotherhood itself calls civilization jihad. Civilization jihad is their patient, relentless assault on every aspect of Western values, freedoms, and culture. And the enemy's primary target in that respect is the language we use, our freedom of speech. Because once we lose that, all the other freedoms fall like dominoes. How are they targeting our free speech? Well, in addition to simple threats of aggression like killing you for blasphemy, they're also working hard on more legalistic means. Have you ever heard of the OIC, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation? This 57-member nation entity is the world's largest Muslim group. And do you know what its #1 priority is? Elevating the Muslim world out of poverty, education, modernization? Of course not. Its #1 priority is combating Islamophobia. The OIC calls Islamophobia the worst form of terrorism. Did you know that the word Islamophobia itself was coined by the Muslim Brotherhood as a strategy to put us on the defensive? They saw how effective that labels like racist or homophobe are very effective in triggering our cultural guilt. So they pushed that term, Islamophobia, over the course of years, and now we have embraced it. So now it's very easy to demonize or dismiss any critic of Islam as an Islamophobe. End of story. But that's just the first step. To eradicate Islamophobia, the Obama administration is working closely with the OIC to put restrictions on our freedom of speech and to criminalize defamation of religion. And of course, by religion, I'm talking about Islam, because no other religion is calling for this. Every other religion values freedom of speech and welcomes critical dialogue. The OIC doesn't care about whether or not Christians or Jews are defamed. They're waging genocide against Christians and Jews. Okay, so how do we preserve our free speech and combat civilization jihad? The first step, as far as I'm concerned, is taking back the language. And the key to that is to bring down Islam's leftist enablers, because the Islamists wouldn't be able to make a single inroad against the West if it weren't for the complicity of the America-hating, totalitarian-loving left, under the cover of political correctness and multiculturalism. The mission statement of the Muslim Brotherhood says that it is engaged in a grand jihad for the purpose of eliminating Western civilization by our own hands and the hands of the believers. What that means is they want us to participate in our own cultural suicide. And that suicide is being happily abetted by the left. Because of the damage the radical left has done to this country over decades through political correctness and multiculturalism, our enemies smell blood. And as the Arab saying goes, a falling camel attracts many knives. We may or may not be winning the war on terror, but we are most definitely losing the clash of civilizations. The left controls this country's discourse about the threat of fundamentalist Islam, just like they control our discourse about race and every other issue. You know how they control the discussion. You're a racist. You're homophobic. Excuse me. You're a bully. Hate speech. War on women. Just like they put up those unfair roadblocks, they also shut down our national conversation about Islam with accusations of Islamophobia, which doesn't even exist, and racism, even though Islam is not a race. Our own government now has scrubbed its language clean of references to Islam. The Fort Hood shooter, which Jamie mentioned, is an incident of workplace violence, right? If we cannot talk about this, we cannot win this war with Islamic fundamentalism. To win it and to preserve our freedoms and our culture, we must seize control of that discourse back from the left. We must stop playing defense and we must go on offense all the time. Conservatives tend to be polite. I'm all about politeness. I think everybody should be polite to each other all the time. But this is war. And in war, I favor a scorched earth policy. Excuse me, and make no mistake about it, we are at war with what David Horowitz calls the unholy alliance of progressives and Islamists. Okay, what can you do? Keep educating yourselves and your friends and your children because they won't be educated by the media or the government or schools. Understand the left's tactics and use them against them because they work. Don't let them put you in defensive mode. Push back. All they have against us are hateful labels. We have the truth. Call out the left on their betrayal of human rights and freedoms. Demand answers from them. Why do you support Sharia's war on women? Why do you support Islamic slavery? Why are you opposed to free speech? Why do you support the death penalty for gays? Why do you support a theocracy? Make them live up to their own standards. When you leave here tonight, commit to total war against that unholy alliance, because they have most certainly committed to it against you. Thanks again for coming.
It's a pleasure to be with you tonight. Thank you for coming. I was born and raised as a Muslim in the culture of jihad. I lost my father to the jihad against Israel. I lived in the heart of the Arab-Israeli conflict. And jihad is the most important value system that we grew up with. Conquering the world. That is the main motivation in Islam. The West has everything to lose. Islam has nothing to lose. Muslim countries have no problem whatsoever if they go to war and lose half their population. America, Israel, we care about our citizens, we don't want to. So we're confronting an enemy who has a completely opposite value system from ours. They go, if you look at the history of Islam, and we should learn from the history of Islam. In the 7th century, when they burst out of Arabia and went to conquer the great two civilizations of the area at that time, it was Egypt and Persia. They conquered those two civilizations at the same time in the same year. And those two great civilizations never saw their glory days again. They go in usually with a bang, a big terror. That's act. When they went to Egypt, what they did was go to churches. Egypt was a Christian nation. They would put there were no airplanes yet at that time. So they would hang the pastor upside down and tell the people, if you don't change this church into a mosque, we will cut his limbs. And they would actually do this kind of terror on the people. And that's how they really conquered Egypt, through terror. They conquered India through terror, and for many, many years. After the terror affects the people, terror works on people who have never experienced it and never analyzed it. What happens when a country, when you go in and terrorize a nation by a big, big act of terror like 9/11, usually this ends splitting the people apart, splitting the nation. A part of the nation wants to fight, and another part will fight that group because they have identified with the terrorists. They have developed a Stockholm syndrome, whereby they want to make peace and appease the invader, appease them, and that's what the left is doing right now. Well, America is split apart.